Ms Legalista, aka Attorney Sheila here. We are going to be talking about people taking intimate pictures that you've shared with them and then engaging in extortion. But look, I also want to tell you about a client who contacted me, and it was the craziest story ever. And to be honest, I just didn't even really believe him.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. This topic is back in the news. It's in the news. It stays in the news. It won't go away because people keep falling for this scam. So, we're going to have a conversation about it, try to figure out why people keep falling for it, and go over some things you should be on the lookout for to stay safe. Now, this is one of those sort of topics that YouTube can sometimes have some concerns about. So it's going to be a little tricky the way that I talk about it. I'm not going to put any characterization on it. I'm going to talk instead about how this happens, how people are taken advantage of when it comes to their personal pictures. And I want to go to a recent news article that came out, and it appears that now the focus is on Instagram. Let me pop over there so that we can start to have this conversation about it. Now the focus is on Instagram. It used to be on Facebook a lot. I used to hear about this on Facebook. But let's go ahead and head over to clickorlando.com. This is where this latest is coming out about this. Let me scroll down and get out of that. Okay. So they're seeing an increase in these types of scams. And this time they're targeting Instagram users. I'm not a big user of Instagram, but hey, I'm up there. So it says people, it's fake Instagram accounts that they're setting up, and then they're blackmailing these other people that then follow them. It says in a social media post on Saturday, the law enforcement agency said, this is the Oviedo, I think that's how you pronounce it, police department. The law enforcement agency said they are seeing the increase in the scam that targets unsuspecting users. The public warning came as police seek to raise awareness about the fake profiles that lure victims into sharing compromising photographs and then using these images to extort money. That is what we're talking about here. That is the scenario. And so let's talk first of all, before I go further into that article, I want to go over some things to be on the lookout. Now, my daughter frequently says when she gets DMs from people that she doesn't really know, she just blocks people when they start to say things that are just not appropriate. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being on the lookout for a person who has a fake profile. Now, how do you know what to look for in terms of a fake profile? Some of the things you want to look for is whether or not all of the images look like stock images, stock photos, or whether they're all the same. You want to take a look at the surroundings and whether or not it looks like these are natural posts. Or these posts that you see in your other friends' Instagram accounts, or are they so vague that the Instagram account could belong to just about anybody? Do you see comments there that sound like they're from people who know this person and can sort of vouch for this person? Do they have links in the profile that then go to their LinkedIn account, their Facebook account, where you can then verify their professional background? So there is some research that you can do from these people who start to follow you and then sort of reach out to you to try to develop a deeper connection or relationship with you. But let's go back to this article and see what else they say here. Let's scroll down here. It says these Instagram imposters often use attractive profile pictures and engage in conversations with users to gain their trust. Once a relationship has been established, the scammers will request or share explicit content, only to later threaten to expose these images to the victim's friends and family unless they receive a payment. This form of online harassment, you can see what it's called there, can have devastating effects on the lives of those who are targeted. And I want to go to this. Let's see what it says. We got a lot to read there. It says, new wave of fake Instagram accounts blackmailing users with compromising photos. In the wake of a concerning increase in fake Instagram accounts targeting unsuspected users, the police department is issuing a public warning to raise awareness about the latest scam. Fraudsters are creating fake profiles, luring victims into sharing these photographs and then using them to extort money. The imposters often use attractive profile pictures, engage in conversations with them to gain their trust. We already read that part. It says to combat these malicious activities, let's go down here to the bottom because they've got some things to do. Be cautious about accepting follow requests or engaging with strangers on social media. Keep your profile's privacy settings restricted to friends and family. Never share. Never share. Let's highlight that section. Never share this with people you do not know well. That's the takeaway right there. If you suspect an account is fake, report it to Instagram for investigation. Remember that even seemingly trustworthy accounts can be compromised or fake. Victims of the scam are encouraged to report it to their local law enforcement or the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. So that's the key there. But I want to talk a little bit about what happened with this client who contacted me because it you know what they say, if it doesn't sound like it makes sense, then it probably isn't. A lot of times clients do not want to reveal when they have made a mistake. They feel some shame, they feel some guilt, and I really hate that for them because what they don't understand is I cannot give them the best advice if they don't tell me what really happened. And a lot of times we don't want to own up to what really happened because maybe we did something we weren't supposed to do. We don't want it to become public. We don't even want to have to talk about it because then that's sort of acknowledging what we did. Like we're speaking out what we did wrong and we know we did it. And we wish we could go back in time and change it, but we can't. So now we're stuck with it. We got to figure out how to go forward. I had this client reach out to me and it was I can't even I can't even I as you can see, I'm still having a hard time processing it because I had never heard of this. And so the way he was explaining it to me, I just didn't believe him. I was like, because I don't think that works like that. But here's kind of the convoluted story he gave me. So there was a person who DM'd him on Facebook, and that person that person sent him a picture. And what he said was that somehow that person was able to get a picture of him looking at that picture. And then that other person was using that to, engage in this fraud to try to get some money in order to not expose it to this person's friends and family on Facebook. This happened via a Facebook message. Now, I was, I had a lot of questions. I'm just telling you, I had a lot of questions. I was sort of like, so what do you mean the person took a picture of you looking at it? Did you have your camera on? Were you somehow engaging with the other person? And the person was like, oh, well, there's an app where they can, capture your photo of you, looking at whatever. And so I continued. I'm like, but did you have your camera on? Were you engaging in sort of a back and forth with this person? And the person never really answered that question. And so again, it was a sort of situation where he didn't want to tell me, and be truthful and honest. And so it made it difficult for me to give him advice. Like, what kind of app was it? When did this happen? Like, he was leaving out all kinds of details. There's not a whole lot I can tell you if you don't tell me what happened. So keep that in mind. In that instance, what he said, and you guys can tell me, because like I said, I think there were a whole lot of holes in that story. What I really think happened, let me say this. Here's what I really think happened. I think he and the other person were both engaging in sharing pictures, And some of that may have been video based on some of what he said. Like I said, he never owned up to this full scenario. But this is what I think happened. I think they were mutually sharing this material back and forth. And once the other party had gotten enough of the material, then that party then, engaged in this type of fraudulent activity and this extortion. That's where I think this was going. But he didn't want to own up to the fact that he actually participated in it. He wanted to make it totally sound like he did absolutely nothing wrong. Um, but here's the problem. And maybe this says this in the rest of the article. There is a lot of guilt and shame around this. And people are being hurt. People are being hurt. I just read something recently about a young person who, took the ultimate step because he was ashamed and had gotten caught up in something like this. And the people then said, we're going to share this with your friends and family if you don't do A, B, and C. So there's all this fraud around it, setting up this fake profile, engaging in this fraudulent activity with the other party, misrepresenting who you are in order to get money. But people are feeling so much shame around it that they're taking these other steps because they're afraid to go to the authorities. They're afraid to go to the police. And that's the really sad part of this. That's the sad part of this. So that's really why I'm pointing this out and having this conversation about this. If you don't share them, then you don't have to have as much worry about that going on. And here's the other thing to think about too, because I can see us getting to the point where this is going to start to happen. Now that there's an increase in artificial intelligence and the way that it's being used, and just the amount of technology that is now available, it's going to get to the point where you're not even going to have to respond to these people because people will be able to take your voice, like my voice here, and clone my voice and put videos out there or audio out there that makes it sound like I've made all kinds of statements and then try to blackmail me on it. So I can definitely see that that is going to be the next level. It's not going to be whether or not you even engaged in anything because they're going to say that you did anyway because they will have manufactured using artificial intelligence technology to say that you're that person in that picture, that's your body, that's you in the video, and this is the audio that goes along with it. And now we're going to seek money. We're going to seek compensation for that. And the thing about it is, it used to be that only celebrities, only people who had lots and lots of money would be the targets of scams like this. But, you know, fraudsters and scammers now know that, hey, we got a whole world of 8 billion people here, and millions of them are on social media, and millions of them would probably pay some money to keep from having something posted like this. And so this is going to be like the next level of this scam. They aren't even going to worry about getting the info from you because it's easier to just make it up. Easier to just make it up. And so the shame and guilt and fear around having this information released needs to be something that we put out there and that we have more conversations about so that people understand that they are not the only ones going through this. So if this has happened to you and you've gone in the bathroom and you've started crying and you've worried how you're going to, tell your boss because they know where you work and they've threatened to tell your boss, or they've seen your family members on your social media account and they said, hey, we're going to not only release this to your family members, but we also see what church you go to. And we're never going to share that with them. We're going to post this everywhere. I'm not kidding. This is what this one guy told me. He was like, they said that they're going to post it in all these places and that they have my list of contacts and that they're going to reach out to all of them. And I have no doubt that he was probably right with them telling him that, you know? So he was very, very concerned, very, very concerned. So you have to report this. You do have to report this so that authorities can try to investigate it and at least try to track down the other party. Now, there is tons of online and internet scams and frauds going on. So the FBI has its work cut out for them, but at least consider reporting it if this happens to you. Let's go back and see what they say at the end of this article. Let's see what else they have to say. I was doing a lot of talking here, but let's see what else they have to say. Yeah, they just go through the same. Let's get rid of that. They just go through the same red flags that I've already talked about. Report to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, block the person, and report it on Instagram. Like I said, this is a big thing that's happening on Instagram. And this person has a comment here, and he says, better yet, don't take photos of your unclothed body for anyone. And let me comment on that piece too, because sometimes these are photos that you're sharing with, and I'm moving away from the fake Instagram accounts now, and I'm just talking about relationships. Sometimes these are just photos that you're providing for your partner or your spouse. And we've seen even those used against the other person. But at least in that case, the difference in that case is at some point in time, there was a consensual relationship there, and there was an agreement about how those materials were going to be used. And a lot of states now have laws in place that would provide criminal penalties if they were to use them in another manner. But that's it. Don't forget those red flags that I mentioned. I got somebody coming down the stairs trying to sneak down. It's so funny. But that's it. Those are the red flags. Those are what you need to look out for so that you don't get caught up in somebody following you with a fake account and then trying to be your best buddy and trying to get you to send this compromising material so that they can try to get your money from you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Peace.